Welcome to Threads of Grace podcast with Dr. Suleiman Bamji, where stillness speaks, faith breathes, and every word is woven with purpose. A sanctuary for the soul. Come as you are, and leave wrapped in grace. Let each thread remind you, you are held, you are seen, you are loved.
Title of this message: The Mystery and Beauty of God's Immutability.
Hello darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains.
I was reflecting on this song, and it's an interesting play on words. Hello darkness, my old friend. We're always encouraged to be in light and see God in light. I've come to talk with you again. The sound of silence. Silence, of course, doesn't have a sound, but it's an interesting play on words and lyrics. And sometimes as we go through life, we wonder, what is God up to? We're not hearing Him. We're not seeing His works. And when we start to question that, then we may start to drift away from the foundations of which we are committed ourselves. Compromises complicates our commitments. Whether it's something related to a diet or doing God's will. Compromises can become tragic when they bring down a life, or even worse, a nation. Compromises can be tragic to even a nation. One may wonder when Israel made that first compromise. Maybe it was when one family first found an idol. Maybe it was a little compromise in terms of what God had said. Maybe we were saying God didn't really say that now, did He? But God does not change, which is where that word immutability comes from. So they may have found a little idol. They didn't worship it. Maybe they just put it aside because it looked pretty, and maybe their children was playing with it. But when we look in the book of Hosea, chapter 8, verse 4-7, with their silver and gold they have made idols for themselves, for they sow the wind and they reap the whirlwind. So a little compromise may well have been the start of this calamity. Benjamin Franklin, back in 1758, wrote a piece with far-reaching effects of compromise. A little neglect may breed great mischief. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For the want of a horse, the rider was lost. So we need to pay little attention to these little compromises. Before neglect of these little compromises brings great disaster. In 722 BC, the Assyrians invaded the northern kingdom of Israel, and they took the Jews of that region into captivity. Then in 586 BC, the Babylonian army swarmed over Jerusalem, took the southern kingdom captive, and marched the people of Judah off to Babylon. God's people had sowed the wind, and indeed reaped the whirlwind. The prophet Jeremiah watched the upheaval and prophesied for more than 40 tearful years. He wept and prophesied. And in the book of Lamentations, he recorded what he saw and felt about the fall of Judah. A lament is a crying out in grief. It is a wailing cry in the middle of the night. It is the sadness brought on by loss. As Jeremiah looked out on the smoking rubble of Zion, he remembered with an aching heart days when his nation was great, and he made his people's grief and shame his own. I am the man who has seen affliction. Because of the rod of his wrath, he has driven me and made me walk in darkness and not in light. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Surely against me he has turned his hand repeatedly all the day. Lamentations 3, verse 1 to 3. Clearly, when we have done and lived wrongly, we begin to be afflicted. God disciplines us. Judah had deliberately, consciously, and some degree of calculation compromised the ways of God. Now his whirlwind of judgment swept the people off their feet, and Jeremiah's affliction soon turned to desolation. Even when I cry out and call for help, he shuts out my prayer. He has blocked my ways with hewn stone. He has made my paths crooked. He is to me like a bear lying in wait, like a lion in secret places. He has turned aside my ways and torn me to pieces. He has made me desolate. Verses 8 to 11. Desolate, isolated, Jeremiah felt rejected by God. But then came mockery from his own people, and with that, humiliation. I have become a laughing stock to all my people, their mocking song all day. But the mocking did not only come from God's people, it also came from the captives. And in the Psalms we read, by the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down. And a song made popular by Boney M, Jamaican group, 1978, puts it in perspective. Compromise, affliction, desolation, humiliation, isolation. Jeremiah recorded every emotion of his great grief. He was broken, blocked, bitter, and at the very bottom of the pit of despair, he experienced rejection. My soul has been rejected from peace.
By the rivers of
Babylon.
where we sat down, there we will, when we remember
wail when we remember Zion. I have forgotten happiness. Like the branches of a tree in a violent storm, the prophet's spirit was bowed within him. Yet, when he looked up, he saw the character of God standing firm. The Lord didn't sway, and that changed his perspective on the storm. For a brief time, the gloom lifted, and Jeremiah gained strength through hope. This I recall to my mind, therefore I have hope. Verse 21. Hope is so necessary. The human body can live 40 days without food, maybe 4 to 8 days without water, but only a few minutes without air, about 4 minutes without air. But the human spirit cannot live for more than a few seconds without hope. Jeremiah has been walking through the remains of the city he loved, kicking the debris, remembering the bitterness and the grieving over why this happened. Suddenly, 3 shining truths about God's faithfulness dawned on his darkened heart. The Lord's loving kindness indeed never ceases. Note, there's a plural form to this. Many are God's loving kindnesses. Many are his mercies. We need to have this truth blazed in our brains. The Lord's mercies never cease. Aren't you thankful that God doesn't change? Aren't you thankful that when you run from him, his mercy stays? We are the sheep of his own pasture, and his goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our lives. They never cease. The next word of hope is in the second part of the verse. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. The Lord's compassions never fail. The word compassion means sympathetic, consciousness of others' distress, together with desire to alleviate it. God is always involved. His grace, his forgiveness, his help for the helpless. Like the father of the prodigal son in Luke 15, God keeps loving all his prodigal children, and his loving kindnesses and compassions are new every morning. In a piece written by Charles Dyer, God offered a fresh supply of his loyal love every day to his covenant people. Much like the manna in the wilderness, the supply could never be exhausted. What is God's morning message to us? The dawn itself. Doesn't matter whether the sky is clear, bright, or cloudy, or raining. He says every morning, not just when the sun shines. Every morning the Lord sends the message, I am still here. Let's go through the day together. Tomorrow we will face tomorrow. But for today, I'm here to give you love, kindness, and compassion. In Lamentations 3:23, Jeremiah exulted on the Lord's graciousness and goodness and burst into praise. Great is your faithfulness. God is faithful. It is his nature. Even when we blow it and we make stupid decisions, and our life falls apart, our marriages fail, our businesses go bankrupt, and we slip out to the will of God, God's faithfulness never diminishes. It is always, always great. Because of God's immutability, his unchanging character, his faithfulness will remain unconditional, unending, unswerving. Now there's a reason to face another day and face it with hope. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I have hope in him. So in the nearness of the present moment, trust God to remember you. He is faithful to know not only who you are, or where you are, where you're running from, and where you're running to. And all the while, He is following with His untiring faithfulness. He is there and He cares. How do we trust Him? There's 4 things that we can glean from Isaiah's words in verses 25 to 32. 1. Wait patiently. Stop running, start waiting. Jeremiah assures us the Lord is good to those who wait for Him. Trust Him to remember His goodness towards you by waiting on His unchanging faithfulness. Second, we can seek diligently. Instead of ignoring Him, start seeking Him again. Confess your wrongs. Uncover your shame before Him. And come to Him on the merits of Christ. For the Lord is good to the person who seeks Him. Then we can sit quietly. It is good that he waits silently for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man that he should bear the yoke in his youth. Let him sit alone and be silent, since He has laid it out for him. After you've poured out your heart to God, be quiet. Spend time in solitude. Take passages, psalms, scriptures that are meaningful to you and let them speak into your spirit and into your heart. Let the Lord speak to you. Let Him reassure you. Feel His arms around you. And submit willingly. When the Lord disciplines us, our tendency is to respond, to stand up and defend ourselves. But Jeremiah advises, let him put his mouth in the dust. Perhaps there is hope. Let him give his cheek to the smiter. Let him be filled with reproach. There is no rationalization. There is no excuses. Stop trying to get around the sinful compromises in your life. Face them submissively and willingly. And we get the promise, for the Lord will not reject forever. For if He causes grief, then He will have compassion, according to His abundant loving kindness. Powerful song, great is Thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with Thee. Thou changest not, Thy compassions they fail not. As Thou hast been, Thou forever will be. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand has provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. The Lord never changes. Sometimes we do not see everything that is going on. John Oxenham, back in 1633, wrote a piece called God's Handwriting. And this is what he wrote. He writes in characters too grand for our short sight to understand. We catch but broken strokes and try to fathom all the mystery of withered hopes of death, of life, the endless war, the useless strife. But there, with larger, clearer sight, we shall see this: His way was right. His way was right. Our Lord does all things well, and His way is right. His way is right because He is unchanging and immutable. His character does not change. And at the end of it, His way is right. His way is right.
Subscribe to the Threads of Grace podcast, where testimonies transform lives. Subscribe, like, share, comment.